Gravitational waves, predicted by Einstein in his theory of general relativity, are a type of wave caused by the curvature of space-time caused by mass and energy. The existence of gravitational waves has always been a conjecture for scientists, but it was only recently that a team of scientists directly observed them. Here are some ways to prove the existence of gravitational waves. 1. Circumstantial evidence. Many astronomical observations provide indirect evidence of the presence of gravitational waves. For example, stars in binary systems emit gravitational waves because their orbits are distorted, which causes their orbits to shorten. Therefore, the observed orbital shortening of this binary star system can serve as indirect evidence for the existence of gravitational waves. 2. Direct evidence. In 2015, a team of scientists from a collaboration between LIGO and Virgo directly detected the presence of gravitational waves for the first time. In the probe, they observed the gravitational wave signal generated when the two black holes merged. For the first time in history, gravitational waves were directly detected, opening up a new area of research in the fields of general relativity and astrophysics. 3. Mathematical evidence. Einstein's general theory of relativity is a theory based on mathematical equations that predicts the existence of gravitational waves. The mathematical equations of general relativity are supported by a large number of experimental and observational data whose results are consistent with the predictions of general relativity. In summary, through indirect evidence, direct detection, and mathematical evidence, we can derive evidence for the existence of gravitational waves. The detection and study of gravitational waves will have a profound impact on our understanding of the universe and physics. Gravitational waves are perturbations that propagate in space-time, and they don't require any medium to propagate. In classical physics, many waves are formed by the propagation of vibrations or disturbances in a medium, such as sound waves caused by vibrations in gases or liquids. However, gravitational waves are generated by the curvature of space-time itself, not by vibrations of matter or medium. According to Einstein's general theory of relativity, mass and energy can twist space-time. When an object with mass or energy moves, it causes distortions in surrounding space-time, like ripples created by a stone falling into water. This distortion propagates in the form of waves in space-time, which is called gravitational waves. Therefore, gravitational waves do not require any medium to propagate, and they can propagate freely in a vacuum, just like electromagnetic waves. It's also why gravitational waves can travel through any object in space, including planets, stars, and black holes. Of course, it is very difficult to detect this tiny distortion in space-time, so it took scientists decades to detect the presence of gravitational waves directly for the first time. The distortion of space-time can transmit energy. In Einstein's general theory of relativity, gravity is the result of the curvature of space-time, which causes distortions by both mass and energy. As gravitational waves propagate through space-time, they carry energy and transmit that energy to other objects. When gravitational waves pass through an object, they cause tiny deformations of the object, and the energy required for these deformations can be taken from gravitational waves. This energy transfer is tiny, but it can be measured because it causes tiny movements or vibrations of the object. This is also one of the working principles of gravitational wave detectors. Since gravitational waves can carry energy and transmit it to other objects, they have a wide range of applications in theoretical physics and astrophysics. For example, in astrophysics, gravitational waves can be used to study the properties of black holes and neutron stars, as their morphological changes produce gravitational waves, which can be captured by detectors and interpreted as information about them. Emptiness is an important concept in Buddhism, and its meaning is more profound and can be understood from different perspectives. From a macro perspective, emptiness refers to the inherent emptiness and impermanence of everything. According to Buddhism, everything in the world arises from the interaction of countless causal conditions, and that they do not have an independent essence. Therefore, everything is empty, there is no eternal and unchanging essence entity, everything is constantly changing and flowing. From a microscopic point of view, emptiness refers to the lack of autonomy in everything. Buddhism believes that people's perception and experience of things are affected by various conditions and factors, and no thing has an absolutely independent existence and autonomy. Therefore, everything lacks autonomy and there is no independently existing entity. That is to say, everything is not an independent entity, but a phenomenon produced by various causal conditions. These causal conditions can be matter, energy, time, space, situation, attitude, concept, etc., and these conditions interact and relate to each other to form the essence and characteristics of things. From the point of view of physics, all matter is made up of atoms and molecules, and the way these atoms and molecules move and combine determines the properties and characteristics of matter. From a biological point of view, all life is composed of cells, and the processes of cell growth, division and death are also affected and regulated by a variety of causal conditions. From a psychological point of view, human thoughts, emotions and behaviors are also influenced and shaped by a variety of causal conditions, including genetics, environment, social culture and so on. Therefore, from a microscopic point of view, emptiness means that everything is formed by various causes and conditions, lacks autonomy, and does not exist independently. This understanding reflects the Buddhist view of the world, which holds that everything is interdependent and influences each other, and that there is no fixed essence or entity, and this view also encourages people to maintain an open, tolerant attitude towards things, not to cling to superficial phenomena, but to think deeply about the causes and conditions behind them, so as to achieve spiritual freedom and liberation. In general, emptiness is a more esoteric philosophical concept in Buddhism, meaning that the essence of everything is void and impermanent and lacks autonomy. For Buddhist practitioners, knowing and understanding emptiness can help them transcend worldly attachments and attachments, get rid of suffering, and achieve inner peace and liberation. Assuming that emptiness is the structure of space-time, it can be shown that emptiness is essentially empty and impermanent, and there is no independently existing entity. If emptiness is compared to the structure of space-time, it can be understood as follows. Space-time is a concept of relative existence, which refers to the relative relationship and interaction of all things in time and space. In this sense, space-time itself does not have an independent entity, it is only a relative state of existence. In the same way, everything is relative, they are produced by the interaction of countless causal conditions, and there is no independent essential entity. The state of existence of these things in time and space is also relative, so it can also be said that they have emptiness, that is, the essential characteristics of emptiness and impermanence and lack of autonomy. This understanding can help us better understand the concept of emptiness, and perhaps more easily reconcile with the view of modern science. From any point of view, emptiness emphasizes a state of relative existence that tells us that the world we see is not fixed and independent as it seems, but an endless process of change and circulation. Knowing and understanding this state can help us transcend our attachments to things and reach inner peace and liberation. If emptiness is the structure of space-time, we can explain in more detail the essential emptiness and impermanence of everything from the following aspects. as well as the absence of independent entities. 1. The nature of emptiness. Buddhism holds that everything arises from the interaction of countless causal conditions, and that they do not have an independent essence. The existence and change of things is the result of a combination of many factors, so they are empty. From this point of view, the essence of things is emptiness, not substance. 2. The nature of impermanence. Buddhism holds that all things are impermanent, i.e. their state of existence in time and space is constantly changing, with no fixed entity. Therefore, everything is impermanent. Due to the impermanence of things, we cannot see them as an independently existing entity, but rather as a state of flow. 3. There is no independently existing entity. Since everything is empty and impermanent, there is no independently existing entity in them. We usually think of an entity as the result of a combination of countless factors, rather than an independent entity. Therefore, we should not see things as fixed and unchanging entities, but rather as a fluid, ever-changing process. In short, if emptiness is the structure of space-time, then the essence of everything is emptiness and impermanence, and there is no independently existing entity. This view tells us that the world we see is an ever-changing, fluid process that we cannot see as a fixed entity. Knowing and understanding this perspective can help us transcend attachments to things, and thus achieve inner peace and liberation. The Heart Sutra is an important text in Buddhism, compiled by the Tang dynasty master Prajnadhara in the Great Prajna Sutra. The Heart Sutra is a short and pithy text, 260 words in total, but it expresses some of the core ideas of Buddhism, including emptiness, dependence, wisdom, and so on. Original text of the Heart Sutra. Contemplate the Bodhisattva. When walking deep as paramita. Tarumi is empty. Survive all suffering. Relic. The color is not different. Empty is not heterochromatic. Color is empty. Empty is color. The same is true of thought and action. Relic. It is the void phase of the law. Immortal and immortal. Not dirty. No increase, no decrease. Therefore, the air is colorless. Nothing to think about. No eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind. Colorless sound, fragrance, touch. No vision. And even the unconscious. No confusion. There is no end to confusion. Even without old age and death. There is no old age. No bitterness gathers and destroys the way. There is no wisdom and no gain. For no reason. Bodhisattva. According to Prajnaparamita. The mind is unobstructed. No obstacles. There is no terror. Stay away from upside-down dreams. Ultimate nirvana. 3 Buddhas. According to Prajnaparamita. De Gandhara Sambadhi and Sambadhi. Therefore, it is known as Prajnaparamita. It's the great God curse. It's the great Ming mantra. It's the supreme curse. It's a curse. It can remove all suffering. It's true. Hence the Prajnaparamita mantra. That is, curse. Revealing the truth. Polo revealed. The Baltic monks revealed. Bodhisattva married. If emptiness is compared to the structure of space-time, then the essence of everything is emptiness and impermanence, and there is no independent entity. This view tells us that all 5 senses are empty. Survive all suffering. Relic. The color is not different. Empty is not heterochromatic. Color is empty. Empty is color. The same is true of thought and action. Relic. It is the void phase of the law. Immortal and immortal. not dirty. No increase, no decrease. Therefore, the air is colorless. Nothing to think about. No eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind. Colorless sound, fragrance, touch. No vision. And even the unconscious. No confusion. There is no end to confusion. Even without old age and death. There is no old age. No bitterness gathers and destroys the way. There is no wisdom and no gain. For no reason. The world we see is an ever-changing, fluid process that we cannot see as a fixed entity. Knowing and understanding this perspective can help us transcend attachments and attachments to things, and thus achieve inner peace and liberation. The original text of the Tao Te Ching, Chapter 1, Tao can be Tao, very Tao. Famous, very famous. The beginning of the nameless world, named the mother of all things. Therefore, there is no desire to see the wonder, there is always a desire to watch it. These two, the same name, the same Xuan. Xuan Jai and Xuan, the gate of all wonders. If the Tao is compared to emptiness, the structure of space-time, then the essence of everything is emptiness and impermanence, and there is no independent entity. This view tells us that the Tao is Tao, very Tao. Famous, very famous. The beginning of the nameless world, named the mother of all things. The meaning of this passage is, Tao cannot be fully expressed by words. Words can only indicate the general direction of Tao, but they cannot cover all details. Similarly, the nature of all things cannot be fully described in words, and the names used in words only roughly indicate the categories of all things. At the beginning of the universe, the Tao did not have any name or form, only a nameless basic principle, which was the source of all things. With the passage of time, all things gradually appeared names and forms, but these names and forms are only phenomena on the surface of all things, and the essence behind them is still Tao, the basic principle of that nameless. In Buddhism, the purpose of one's practice is to attain enlightenment, that is, to transcend life and death, to achieve liberation, and then to achieve Bodhi and Buddhahood. Among them, the 6 roots, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, Yuan Tong refers to the practice of achieving the most perfect state of function and operation of the 6 roots, so as to better realize the Buddha and become enlightened. The following is the process by which a person practices the 6 Yuan Tong. 1. Observing the 6 roots. Practitioners first need to observe the 6 roots to understand the operation and function of the 6 roots, as well as the problems and limitations of the 6 roots in daily life. 2. Precept wisdom. Practitioners need to observe the precepts, practice meditation and develop wisdom in order to cultivate inner purification and peace, and then deepen their understanding and observation of the 6 roots. 3. Restraint of the 6 roots. Practitioners need to learn to control and restrain the 6 roots in order to reduce the attachment and pursuit of external things by the 6 roots and avoid the troubles and impure thoughts brought by the 6 roots. 4. Making the 6 roots more proficient. Through the practice of meditation and wisdom, practitioners become more proficient in the functions and functioning of the 6 roots, have a clearer understanding of external things, and avoid falling into disturbing and attachment. 5. Developing wisdom. Through the practice of meditation and wisdom, practitioners develop wisdom to realize Buddhahood such as impermanence, selflessness and emptiness, and achieve enlightenment. 6. Achieve the 6 roots of perfection. When the practitioner reaches the realm, the function and operation of the 6 roots reach the most perfect realm, and the 6 roots operate perfectly, so that the practitioner can understand the external things more clearly, but without the influence of emotions, reach the realm of transcending life and death and liberating time and space. In general, The process of cultivating the 6 roots is a comprehensive process, which requires the cooperation of the 3 disciplines of discipline and wisdom, restraint and attachment, and the development of wisdom so that the operation of the 6 roots can reach the most perfect state, of which the process of practicing the 6 roots is easier and faster.